Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our April Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial service and adult Dharma service. I'd like to begin by reading the names of those who've passed away in the month of April. Kinoe Adachi, Shigetaro Adachi, Matsuo Ernest Akaba, Shima Akiyoshi, Beatrice Akiko Bunna, Heisaku Fuji, Sakichi Fuji, Tsue Fuji, Takano Fukuda, Hiroshi Fujikawa, Kikuhei Fujimoto, Mary Fujimoto, Tsuneji Gonda, Shige Harada, Takashi Hatakeyama, Alan Hayashida, Ruth Reiko Hirabayashi, Yoshio Hiramoto, Ichiko Hirao, Akira Hirota, Tadao Hisaoka, Hamae Hori, Kijiro Hori, Misaku Horiuchi, Toshiko Ikeda, Matsu Ishikawa, Toku Kamano, Harry Kanada, Jim Kanada, Sanzo Kanagaki, Kitoe Kaneko, Kimiko Kaneshige, Pamela Kaneshige, Tadashi Kaneshige, Paul Kanzaki, Issei Kato, Charles Kawada Jr., Tora Kido, Kikutaro Kimura, Kunio Kisanuki, Ruri Kitabayashi, Joe Kiyota, Kiku Kobayashi, Sono Kobayashi, Kenso Kobori, Yasue Mae Kodani, Jun Hisako Kuge, Sannosuke Kurotori, Patty Ritsuko Lomas, Jane Matsui, Takeko Aline McVicker, George Isamu Misaki, Kyo Miyagawa, Isao Mizusaki, Miyako Mori, Toshio Mori, Takako Murakawa, Shozo Nagai, Ellen Naito, Mitsuharu Naito, Shigeo Naito, Alice Nakagawa, Jeanette Nakagawa, Fred Nakagiri, Toshiyuki Nakamura, Asano Nakano, Yoshio Nakano, Wasaburo Nakano, Yonezo Nakatani, Bernice Nakaya, Kiyoshi Nakaya, Takenori Nakayama, Jane Nishi, Hideaki Noda, Ayako Nomura, Kazue Nomura, Junko Nomura, Kikuko Nomura, Shunso Norimoto, George Okai, Taigi Oniki, Tokuzo Otaguro, Doreen Otsuka, Matsutaro Otsuka, Etsuko Ryujin, Kimi Sakai, Isa Sata, Sayoko Satake, Jukichi Seta, Shizu Seta, Fuji Setaka, Tetsuo Shigematsu, Iwao Shigemoto, Tsugio Sugimura, Kita Sumimoto, Keiko Takahashi, Takeshi Takahashi, Yozo Takahashi, Cynthia Takemoto, Pam Tamori, Shoji Tamori, Shinnosuke Tamura, Ichitaro Tanabe, Nancy Tanaka, Baby Tanaka, Carl Tani, Kyuzaburo Taniguchi, Yakue Tarada, Iku Tsuchiya, Grace Tsujimoto, Reiichi Tsukimura, Seiichi Umemoto, Kyo Watanabe, Chujiro Watanabe, Mary Ehara, Katashi Yamabe, Minezo Yamamoto, Risaku Yamamoto, Ruth Yamamoto, Toyotaro Yamanashi, Henry Yamashita, Fred Yokoyama, Sam Yoneyama, Jerry Yoshida, Yone Yoshioka, Henry Yoshisato, Kiyoshi Yoshiura, George Yuto, Kei Yuto, Risaburo Yuto. Okay, next we'll have Sutra chanting. Today we will chant Sanbutsuge. It's on page 22 in the small book and page 79 in the large book. And you can chant along or think about your loved ones that are being honored during the chanting. Namanda, 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 namanda. Kogen gigi, Yijin mugok, nyoze enmyo, muyo tosha, nichiga tsumani, shuko enyo, kai shitsu onpei, yunyaku jumok, nyorai yogen, chosemurin, shogaku daion, koru jippo, kaimon shojin, sanmai chie, itoku muryo, shushoke jintai zennen, shobutsu hokai, gujin jin no, kugo gaitai, mumyo yokunu, sesonyomu, ninno shishi, jintoku muryo, kukun kodai, chie jinmyo, komyo iso, shindo daisen, ganga sabutsu, zai shoho, kado shoji, mifugedatsu, fusejoin, kainin shojin, nyoze sanmai, chie ijo, gosei tokubutsu, fugyo shigan, isai kuku, isadai an, keshi ubutsu, hyakusen okuman, muryo daisho, shunyo goja, kunyo isai, shito shobutsu, punyo gudo, kensho fukyak, hinyo goja, shobutsu sekai, bufukake, mushu setsudo, komyo shisho, enshi shokok, nyoze shojin, ijin nanyo, ryoga sabutsu, kokudo daiichi, goshu kimyo, dojo chozetsu, kokunyo nayom, nimu toso, gato aimi, do datsu isai jippo naisho shinetsu shoujo ito ga koku keraku anon kobutsu shinmyo zega shinsho hotsugam no hi riki shoshoyok jippo sesom chiemuge joryo shisom chiga shingyo keryo shinshi shoku dokuchu gagyo shojin ninju fuke namandabu 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 ganni shikudoku byodo seisai dohoten wo daishin ojo anakok. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Okay, thank you once again for joining us for our April Shotsuki monthly memorial service and adult Dharma service. Let me pull something up here. It's April. Last week we had our Hanamatsuri service, and so I was kind of thinking of Hanamatsuri, and so let me pull this picture up. So one thing we got to see at our Hanamatsuri service was we had our Lumbini garden. The song is Lumbini's Garden, and one of the Dharma school students asked me, "Sensei, who's Lumbini? Right? How come it's Lumbini's garden? How come it's about her garden or his garden?" And I was like, that's a good question. I don't think it's a person. It's a place. So it shouldn't be Lumbini's garden. It's Lumbini garden, right? Isn't it called Lumbini's garden? I'm just going to look it up. Or is it called In Lumbini's garden? In Lumbini's garden, right? And yes, Lumbini's with apostrophe S, implying possessive, right? Implying a person whose garden it is, but it's not, it's a place. It's supposed to be in Lumbini garden. So I think that's interesting. I wonder when that crept in. Steve, can you go back to your oldest service books and see if it's Lumbini's in the old ones? Maybe someone kind of got confused and added the apostrophe S. But I think it's supposed to be Lumbini garden. It's not a person, it's a place. And so we've been doing it this way, and it was really nice last week, and having all the plants and even some of the stuffed animals. I can just barely see an eagle there on the left. We had some interesting stuffed animals too. We had like a giant Nemo, and we had like a buzzard, right? Like a turkey vulture or something. Right? So there were some interesting stuffed animals last week. But then the most important thing, and I gotta pull this one up so you can see. Close that. Do this. Here we go. There. Baby Buddha, right? And so the baby Buddha is where we pour the sweet tea, give Buddha a bath, right? The Buddha right after he's born. The story is that Queen Maya, she's pregnant and expecting, and she's ready. So she's going back from like a besho, like a separate house, and going to the palace. But on the way, stops at Lumbini Garden, and then reaches up and grabs a branch, and Buddha pops out of the side, right? This kind of immaculate birth kind of thing, right? And then walks 7 steps and does this, the pose that the statue is, right? And says, "Between heaven and earth, I am supreme, and I will lead beings to awakening and away from suffering." So that's the story, right? And then supposedly there's 2 versions. One is that sweet tea rained down from the sky, and that's why we're bathing Buddha. But there's another version that 2 nagas or 2 dragons come and like bathe him with their drool or something. They go, right? And they have these fountains kind of happen with the dragons. And that's the version I like. That's what I imagine I'm doing when I'm pouring. It's like, don't do that though. Don't drool on the baby Buddha. Only dragons get to do that. And so that's like the story of the baby Buddha image. But I was thinking about another way to think about it, maybe. And what I came up with is maybe baby Buddha here is pointing out the middle way to us. The middle way, right? And so he's pointing up. Maybe one way we could think about it is the future, right? Pointing up into the future. But sometimes we get kind of stuck in the future, right? Worried about it. What's going to happen? Oh my gosh, I'm really worried. I wonder what will happen then in the future. The other one is he's pointing down into the past, right? And I think very often we get stuck in the past. Oh my gosh, how could I have said that? Why did I do that? Oh, if only I had done this, or if only I had done that, right? And really getting stuck in the past. So we can get stuck in the future, we can get stuck in the past, and maybe one way to think about it is Buddha telling us, past already happened, nothing we can do to change the past. The future never comes. It's always in the future, right? So rather than getting stuck in the past or the future, be here now, right? The middle way. Be here, this moment. Of course, we can still maybe understanding what happened in the past, we can act differently, or maybe it'll get us to think of doing something different. But maybe that's one way we could think of this statue, right? Rather than this kind of mythical story, right, of Buddha walking and talking right after he's born, can think of it more symbolically, pointing out this middle way. I think we can also, though, I don't like to go too far with the now is the only thing, right? Because I think it is also important to think about the future, right? So in one way, yeah, let's think about the future, but not get too stuck in it, but aspiring for something in the future. How do I want things to be? Is there something I want to change in my life, right? Can I go in a different direction? And then the past especially, and that's where I'm making the connection with Shotsuki, with our monthly memorial, that we don't ignore the past. Actually, the past can be really important, and we can learn so much. And I think if we have an appreciation of the past, appreciate how I'm here because of the efforts of so many others, right? And this idea that we can't live alone, we can only live because of others. And the Shotsuki Memorial Service gives us a chance to think about loved ones who've passed, maybe think about the impact that they had on us, right? This appreciation, realizing, wow, I've received so much, maybe that I wasn't even aware of. I was thinking, my past, I don't remember why it came up, but when I was a senior in high school, I took a psychology class, And one of the things we did in the psychology class was the teacher asked us, think about an event in your life, a significant event in your life. And I remember one student came up with something and it was like kind of nothing, right? It was like, okay, like he couldn't come up with anything really juicy, right? And so you just, said something, it was like, yeah. Another student remembered something that happened that was, I think, kind of traumatic, and was crying, and the teacher had to take them out and comfort them and calm them down and everything, right? So they remembered something really traumatic that really upset them. I remembered something traumatic, but it didn't upset me at the time. And I remembered how, I was homeschooled in first grade because my dad got assigned to Germany. He worked kind of for the Air Force. He wasn't in the Air Force, but he worked for the Air Force. So he had to go to Germany. And my mom and I ended up following him, but he wasn't staying in one place. He had to go from like Frankfurt to Sembach to Ulm to Munich to all these different places, Cologne, right? And so rather than have me and my mom stay in one place and me go to the school at the Air Force base or something, he took us with him. And I was homeschooled, right? And the school made it so that I could take the lessons and do the homework at home and everything, right? So that's one thing. But the thing that I remembered in the class was that we came back and I was ahead of the class. I was like way ahead of the class. And then they tested us like, standardized testing or whatever. And apparently I scored really high, like 98th percentile or something, right? And so they thought, oh, your son's really smart. Why don't we bump him up a grade for science, right? And so I was in second grade, I was in the third grade science class. This is in Bedford, Massachusetts, kind of outside of Boston. And I remembered in this high school psychology class, I was bullied. That the older kids in the class bullied me. And I remember there was like a terrarium. It was a science class, right? So you have a terrarium with like snails in it. So they're taking off the snails and trying to put them on me and stuff. So I'm terrified, right? And I'd totally forgotten that. Like thinking about it again in 12th grade, something that had happened to me in second grade. 10 years erased, totally erased it from my mind, right? And I still am seeing the results of that. Not implications, partly implications, I can't think of the word, but like the effect that it had on me. I still realize stuff. Wow, that was traumatic, obviously, because I blanked it. When I remembered it very intellectually, though. I didn't get upset at the time. But I remembered that feeling, right? And I remember just not going to class anymore. That's one of the impacts. I didn't go to class anymore. I just went to recess. Nobody said anything. Nobody said, how do you feel? Are you okay? Or do you want to do something else? It was just like, woohoo, I get to go to recess again. I don't have to go to that stupid class, right? But there were like no repercussions, kind of, right? And that had a really deep impact on me. Another thing I realized, maybe related more to Shotsuki in a way, the reason we went to Germany in the first place was because my mom was immigrant from Japan. She'd become an American citizen, but my dad left and it was me and my mom at home, alone in the suburbs, right? And so I think we were going to try and get by without my dad, but my mom couldn't drive. She learned after, right? So how are we going to go shopping? And I think it just didn't work. And so we ended up, my mom and me, flying to Germany, just the two of us, to be with my dad. So it was only 6-8 months, I think, that I lived there, right? But really, really interesting to think back. The other thing I remember is, Howdy, time to do your homework. So like we probably didn't do homework every day. I think we just were like hanging out and my mom's having fun. She's like, oh yeah, we have to do homework. So rather than do school every day, it was like every week, every month. I don't know, and it was so easy, right? It was just like too easy for me in a way, like I wasn't being challenged, right? So just so many impacts, and one aspect of it is partly ethnic, I think, right? Having a mother who is basically culturally Japanese, right, and hadn't grown up in this country, and that it was not really possible for us to get by with just the two of us. So thinking of some of the names I'm reading on this list, right, are going back way back, at least until the 60s, 50s, 40s, or people who passed away in the 40s, 30s, 20s on the list, I'm not sure, right? But so many people who had come to this country, right? I'm sure every month I read, there are Issei on the list, huh? First generation people who came from Japan, moved to this country, right? And made a life, right? In many ways fortunate, I think, to have the temple. Many of them maybe lived here in the area, right? And the temple is right around the corner. When we ring the kancho, the traditional thing is that you ring it not so that when you pull in late in your car and park in the thing, you're like, oh, service is starting, right? You hear the kancho in your neighborhood and come to church. It's the calling bell, right? And the kancho would call people in the neighborhood, right? In traditional Japan. And I think probably here at this temple too, right? Living near the temple, living in Japantown that's not really here anymore, right? We think it's just Chinatown, but this area used to be like a third Japantown, right? That there were so many Japanese people living here. And so even though my mom didn't come here till 1970, much later, more like Shin Issei, we call it, right? The kind of new first generation. And yet, the impact of that, right? This kind of ethnic impact that it had on me. And so, thinking about the past, I'm fortunate. I didn't find it really upsetting. It was more interesting for me, maybe, right? And gave me insight into myself, right? So I don't want to get stuck there, stuck in the past, but being able to have an insight into myself, insight into why I am the way I am, right? And that incident or that kind of 1-2 year period had such a huge impact on me as a person, right? And so I really feel like that the past isn't something bad, right? Just don't get stuck. Don't get stuck clinging to something in the past, right? It's better to think of it, be aware of it, consider it, right? Maybe understand better. And that's why I like the word appreciate and appreciation. Because to me, it has an aspect of awareness. To be aware, to have some kind of understanding and awareness. And out of that comes appreciation. I realized, wow, my mom raising me kind of by herself for a while. I didn't know what was happening at the time. I'm just like, woohoo, right? But thinking back and realizing, wow, my mom did so much, right? My dad too. Working so hard. He worked really hard. And when we lived in Japan afterwards in high school, he worked 6 days a week, right? And just, I didn't know it then. I didn't get it then. Now I can think back and have this appreciation. And I think that changes who I am now, in a way, huh? Even that awareness, that appreciation has an effect on who I am and how I live my life. Right? And maybe affects the way I think about the future and what I'd like to do in the future. So I really I think that middle way can apply to a lot of stuff, all kinds of stuff. And I like to think of it as one, not remedy, but way to deal with things, difficult things, right? And if you find yourself upset, frustrated, worried, anxious, right? That awareness. What are the extremes here, right? To just completely ignore things, I think is an extreme. But to be all worried about what's going on and every moment watching the news for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, that's too much too, right? So to find some kind of middle way between those, not being unaware, not being stuck, right? But in between there somewhere with awareness and appreciation, right? So, and kindness too. I think kindness, I can't believe that it has to be said that being kind is a good thing. How is that not basic? It's not. It is not, right? Kindness is kind of off the table right now. Buddhism says we should try and be kind, right? We should try and be aware, try and be kind. Seems like a no-brainer to me, but obviously not. But Buddhism, that's one of the best things to me, is it teaches us and this aspiration, right, for kindness, compassion, trying to be aware, right, trying to see things as they are and not just accepting. We get a lot of information, a lot of misinformation from a lot of different sources, right? And so to try and be critical, think critically, not in a negative way, but right, to think about things and really listen and try and figure out what's going on. Don't just kind of passively accept the messages that we're getting, right? And tempered with this kindness and with this appreciation of how much we've received, how we're able to be here now. So I want to thank you very much for attending. I'll take Baby Buddha off of there. So maybe if you find yourself in the, kind of worried or upset or something, you can think about Baby Buddha here in April, right? And think about, what's going on, right? Want to try to think about things, and maybe if I can find extremes, I can find a middle way. The thing I love about it is it's not dogmatic. It's not do this or don't do that. It's like, no, it's flexible. Right? And it allows us to apply it in any situation, I'd like to think, right? But cushioned too by the awareness and kindness and appreciation. So why don't we conclude the Dharma message, and I'll ask you to join me in Gassho and recite the Buddha's name if you wish. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Shall we sing? Let's sing Ondok-san 2. It's on page 220 in the big purple book. I got that one memorized. And it's on page 76 in the small purple book. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. One announcement I'd like to make is about our salmon bento fundraiser. And so the emails have been going out and you've probably seen them, but please get in your orders. The orders are due, I believe, this coming Wednesday, and they will be picked up on the 19th, this coming Saturday. And if you can help on Friday or Saturday morning, please contact the office, and we could appreciate, we need help, I think, to get that up and going. I'm not going to be here starting on Tuesday. I'm guest speaking in Seattle this coming weekend, and so I'm going to go, I'm driving up, so I'm going to leave on Tuesday and stay in Portland with my family for a few days, then drive up to Seattle, do the guest speaking, then go back to Portland for a few days, and then come back. And so you can still contact me in case of emergencies. I'll be in the country, and so you can still call or text or email me, right? So that's not a problem. Just realize I won't be here. Reverend Endo will be on call during that time. Although next Sunday, he's busy too. So we got Brian Nagata next week for our Dharma family service. So you might want to come for that. Okay, so this will conclude our April Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial and adult Dharma service, and you can come up and Oshoko if you had not had a chance to do so already. Thank you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda.